What's up everybody, Gabe here from GBR Music. Thank you for checking out this video and welcome to a new From Piano to Full Orchestra virtual orchestration tutorial. Today I'd like to show you how to get from this to that. So pretty much I'd like to show you how to go from a piano chord progression with a melody on top to a fully orchestrated segment in a few easy steps. But before I get into it, if you enjoyed this type of video, if you'd like to support the creation of this type of content, and if you'd like to support this guy, please subscribe to the channel, click the like button and hit that bell to be notified every time I upload new content. So one of the reasons I started this video series is kind of to demystify and debunk the idea that orchestral writing and arranging is necessarily overcomplicated and out of reach for beginner or hobbyist. In this video, I want to show you that you can take a very simple musical idea and turn it into something much bigger using simple orchestration and arrangement devices, which hopefully will help you get started on your journey as a composer and orchestrator. As always with these tutorials, you'll find in the video description a download link to the MIDI parts and the split audio tracks for this project, as well as a very basic notation score to help you follow along the example. I'm including this download package to give you an opportunity to really take a look under the hood of this project and get in depth into it, to see how all the moving parts are working with one another. So please take advantage of the resource and make sure to download it. In this video, I'm going to be working in Cubase and I'm going to be using orchestral libraries that I like and that I use in my orchestral productions. But if you're not using Cubase and if you're not using the same orchestral libraries, no problem. You can still recreate the example very easily using the MIDI parts I included in your DAW using the orchestral libraries that you own and the corresponding articulations for each instrument. If you're starting from scratch and you have no DAW and no orchestral libraries or virtual instruments, I invite you to click on this little link up there, which will take you to a video in which description you'll find a whole list of free musical resource, DAW, orchestral libraries, free virtual instruments to get started creating orchestral music in your home studio today. I'm going to try to keep this intro short, but before I get started, I just wanted to thank all the new patrons on my Patreon. Your support means the world to me and really helps the creation of content for this channel, so thanks again. And in case you'd like to join the ranks of my super patrons on Patreon, you can do so by clicking on the link in the video description that links to my Patreon profile and subscribe from there. Okay, that's it for the housekeeping. No point in keeping you all waiting any longer. Let's dive right into it. Okay, so here we are in Cubase, and before we get into the orchestration here on the right side, let's take a look real quick at the piano melody and the piano chord. So the melody is a very traditional question and answer form. Here's the question. And the answer. Question again. And the answer the first time. So the first time it resolves on a minor chord and then it repeats the answer. And the second time it resolves on a major chord and really gives that, like, you know, affirmative character to the melody. Okay, so let's take a look at the chords real quick. It starts on a C minor going down to G major, then back to C minor, and then G minor to A flat major. Then E flat major but with G as a bass and resolving to F major, and then G augmented to G major and then resolving on C minor again. And then we start the cycle again. C minor, G major, C minor, G minor to A flat major, going up to B flat major and resolving on C minor, down again to G minor, A flat major, B flat major, resolving on a nice C major, and that's pretty much the end of that little piece. So as you can see, really simple stuff. Okay, so now that we took a closer look at the piano melody and the chords, let's see how we can arrange them into an orchestral piece. So as you can see, there's 5 main sections in this arrangement. There's percussion, strings, horns, woodwinds, and that's just one instrument of the woodwind section, the piccolo, and then effects section. So let's start by the string section, and then we'll build the arrangement from there. And we'll start with the foundation, we'll start with the basses. So what the basses are doing is that they're pretty much playing an ostinato, which is like a rhythmic cell that repeats itself, playing the roots of every chord. So here's what the ostinato looks like. It's popping up in notation on your screen, and let's listen to how it sounds. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. They're just playing the bass notes of every chord and playing them on that rhythmic ostinato. Okay, so to keep things simple, I gave the cello the exact same part, but an octave higher. And that gives a little more definition to the bass line, because you have like nice low ends played by the basses and a little more of the bass melody played by the cello. So once again, pretty straightforward stuff. The rest of the string section, the viola, violin 2 and violin 1s are gonna fill in the harmonies of the chords. So they're either gonna be playing the root again, they're gonna be playing the 3rd or the 5th, because those chords are all triads, major or minor, and for one of them augmented triads. So the violas start on the minor 3rd, and then they use the chord tones to like navigate until the end of the piece. So they play either the 3rd or the 5th or the root of the chord. So let's just add the violas. Okay, so now let's listen to the violin 2, which start on the G, so on the 5th. It's gonna add some thickness to the string section. Okay, and now let's just add the violin 1s, which start on the root of the chord, but 4 octave higher from where the bass play it. So now we have a string section that's really spread, and as you can see it over 4 octaves, and it's starting to sound really nice, and we can start to hear the orchestral arrangement already. So let's just listen to all the strings together. Okay, very good. We have our string section and it sounds quite nice. Let's go to the percussion section. So the percussion section is fairly small and simple. It's just a snare drum ensemble, 2 layers of taiko drums, and 1 layer of cymbal hits and rolls. So let's start with the taiko because they're going to give you the foundation. I'm using Native Instruments Action Strikes. And pretty much what the taikos are doing is that they're just accentuating the same strong beats as the strings are, so that it gives more rhythmic power to the overall ensemble. So let's just listen to how that sounds. Okay, so that sounds pretty good, but I really want the drums to have a little more texture and a little more punch, so I'm gonna add a second layer playing the same part, but instead of using Action Strike, I'm gonna use Damage this time. And it's the Studio Armageddon ensemble, and let's see how they sound together. So as you could hear, I was toggling, you know, like with only one track of taikos and then both tracks. And you can hear that Damage really adds some nice high ends and some nice incisive tone to this drum part. Okay, so now the bass drum portion of our percussion section sounds pretty nice and pretty clear. So I just want to add a layer of snare drum to give it more of a military feel and to kind of like tie the section together and give it a little more high end. So let's just listen to what the snare plays, which is pretty much another variation of the same rhythmic ostinato. Okay, so right now it sounds a little mechanical, but if you add the taikos to it, it's gonna sound real nice. Okay, so now that's starting to sound really nice as a percussion section, and the last piece missing is really cymbal rolls and hits to mark, you know, like the first beat of each 4-bar section. I'm using Project Sam's True Strike for the cymbal hits and rolls, which is one of my favorite libraries for cymbals, and this is what it sounds like. Okay, so now that we have all the percussion section, let's just bring back the strings real quick to see how they work together. Perfect. So we only need to add some melody to all of that, and then we'll have an orchestral piece. For the melody, since the whole thing is a bit epic and stuff, I decided to give the melody to the French horns. I have 2 layers because that's one of the secrets of creating better sounding orchestral sounds using orchestral library, is to layer different libraries together to create a new blend, you know, that sounds less mechanical and more organic. I'm going to be using the French horn patch from Cinesample Cinebrass Pro and the French horn patch from Metropolis Arc 1. So this is what our melody sounds like when it's now played by a section of French horns. And that's it, it's just as easy as that. You need power and you need epic, just give it to the French horns. And then the second time around, to make it even more epic, I doubled the melody an octave up with the trumpets. And this is what it looks like in MIDI, and let's just listen to it. And here you go, easy peasy. And then since I really wanted to have a member of the woodwind family in this virtual orchestra, I doubled the melody the second time around with the piccolo, which is really giving that like detail, the high end of the melody, and it's quite nice. And then it has this little tag at the end to wrap up things. So this is how it sounds on its own. That's it. Simple and effective. So the last thing we have in this arrangement is those little risers at the very beginning and at the end, just to ramp us into the arrangement and give it this kind of like epic feel. I'm using 2 instances of rise and hit by Native Instruments, the Triple Orchestra, which is one of my go-to, and the Chaos Stairs, which is also one of my go-to. If you watch other tutorials, I really like using those two. They're convenient. So this is how it sounds on its own. Easy peasy, done in a second, thanks to those very convenient libraries. Okay, so now that we added those risers at the beginning and the end, we're pretty much done with the orchestral arrangement. So now let's just listen to everything all together and we'll be done with this virtual orchestration tutorial. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have for you all today. Thanks again for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit that bell to be notified every time I upload new content. And if you have a question about anything I talked about in the video, please leave a comment in the comment section and I'll try to answer it as soon as I can. Thanks again for watching the video, and until next time, take care, and I'll see you very soon on GBR Music.